Hopefully you enjoyed that part of the video. Now let's get into the charts. This is the first time that you're tuning in. My name is Lewis and I am just simply documenting my trading journey. First thing I want to say, like always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. Let me know how your trading journey is going. Also, let me know how your trading week went down in the comments. Yeah, it was a very good week, especially psychologically for me. I had to get a different perspective when it comes to how I was journaling, and I think I figured out a new way to really look at it. Like I said, I have a very good grasp on my technicals. I think my thing was that I was journaling more for the size of the technicals instead of focusing more on what I needed, which was psychological. So this week I did a lot of psychological work and a lot of things just started clicking, especially when it came to kind of slowing down the charts, even though, you know, everything moves so quickly. I think in every sport they tell you just the best players or the best people who participate in that sport are usually the ones who are able to slow things down. So I think that's what I did this week. Enough of the chatting. Let's head straight into the sponsor of this video and then the Discord, so we could hop into the video and talk about everything that happened and the trades that I took and all that. All right, now for the sponsor of this video is, as always, Tektronix PCs. Make sure you follow them on Instagram. Their website is in the works right now and should be up very soon. They're doing a lot of different things in there, so I don't even blame them for taking their time with it, especially when it comes to the website where everybody comes and sees how credible you are and all that. So make sure you check them out. Use my discount code LVFLIP for 10% off, and also you can let them know that you came from the Lewis Visuals website. If you want to interact with them in any way, just hit message them and they will be able to help you out. My boy Mike has helped me out with everything that has to do with a PC. Literally, my PC stopped working at one point not too long ago. I think it was last month, and he figured it out in one day, got me a brand new cooling system that I added to the PC and got it up and running. I'll put up the video right now as well of what he did to my PC before that, which was he added a new case because my GPU was too big for the case that I had. It was too compact and everything was overheating. He also added some RAM to that PC. So I thank Mike, and like I said, go check them out and let them know that Lewis Visuals sent you. Now let's head straight into the Discord. Now we're here in the Discord. As always, this is my free Discord. I am not doing one-on-ones right now, but you can still join the premium Discord to get access to all of this stuff in here, and all you have to do is hit join premium. Everything is in there. Testimonials are there if you want it. But like I say, all I ask is that you come into the free Discord if you're interested and bring good energy. Just keep the conversation going, bring in good vibes, and we've been very active recently in here, as you can see. So I just thank everybody who's in here, and I'm extremely grateful for those of you who are in here and participate and keep the conversation going all the time. Like I said, the link is down in the description, so make sure you go and check it out and you join. Apart from that, that's all I have to say about the Discord. Let's hop straight into the charts and talk about what ended up happening this week. So I know my charts look crazy, but this is what the week ended up looking like, and this is what a standard deviation trader charts look like at the end of the week. So I kept it here just because I want to be able to back test with y'all and see what were the best moves and stuff like that, and the trades that I did end up taking. So if I did take a trade, you'll see it pop up in the video, and you can also find them on my Instagram at LewisVisuals_. So make sure you go and check that out for the short versions of these videos. But let's hide these and see what kind of week it was. It was kind of a Tuesday low all the way up to a Friday high, and you know, with a midweek reversal to then keep going higher. Now obviously we are back at all-time highs, so we just have to get used to trading at all-time highs for the meanwhile. We had a very good run, as you can see, away from all-time highs with this movement here, and hopefully we do something similar, because it's not fun trading at all-time highs. If you traded them before, you'll know. But like I said, I am just trying to slow things down in my trading process and not get caught in FOMO, and really being aware of my emotions in the moment. And all that I can say that helps you with that is your journaling and how you journal specifically. But apart from that, let me bring my drawings back in, and then let's head into the days of the week, and then we'll go from there. Now let's start out on Friday really quickly, just because it was a very important move. And as you can see here, I'll hop down to the 15-minute. All right, here we are. We had a very big move down, obviously, with standard deviations and stuff like that lining up with this here, and some higher time frame stuff as well. From there, they just were very bullish. I came in on Monday being very bullish, so that's why I still have these standard deviations, but I can now delete them, honestly, because the only one that I needed was this one here, which gave me the levels for Monday. As you can see here on Monday, right in the pre-market, or exactly at 9:30, we had this move up, which was basically a long into a short. I think the better play for the day was probably the short, but if you caught the long, there's nothing wrong with that, especially at 9:30. I remember on Monday at 9:30 open, it just went crazy literally after the open. There was really nothing else to say about that. But as you can see here, let's see how we can frame it out and see what ended up happening for the long. We had the high from Friday up there, and a lot of people were targeting that high Friday, but as you can see here, we had these levels, and if I'm not not mistaken, there was a 4-hour rejection block at that level as well. There it is. That 4-hour rejection block was what ended up being the draw on liquidity, the halfway point of that 4-hour rejection block to then send price higher. So if you were bullish, you were targeting the halfway point of that rejection block, and if you were bearish, you were using that as your confirmation to head for shorts. And I ended up taking longs, but I took them too early and then ended up getting cooked. The beginning of the week was what I used to really dig deeper into the psychology part that I was talking about in the beginning when I first brought up the journaling and all that stuff. So let's just talk about the move here, because there was a lot of good price action here on this day. Exactly at 9:30 we dropped down. There was really no real movement. I think if it would have dropped lower and then went higher, I would have went long right away, but I think everybody was expecting price to just pump. Then we had this dump here at the -4, drop back down into this order block on the 5-minute. I'm pretty sure it was, what was it on the 15-minute? A 15-minute fair value gap on the 15-minute. As you see right here, we ended up dropping. I'm not sure if we touched the CE of it. No, we didn't touch the center point of that. So if you were looking for a higher time frame trade, like I said, you could have probably gotten a long there at that halfway point rejection block, at that fair value gap. Excuse me, not the rejection block. You could have got a long in here and then probably targeted the high. If I'm not mistaken, that was probably what I would have been targeting. But the halfway point was also a very good target. You could have probably easily got a good 50 points out of that. Yeah, you could have easily got a good 50 points out of that plus. So that's not even bad. But let's talk about what the move that I was kind of anticipating but didn't wait for it, and then it ended up just leaving without me. And then I marked it right here, but it is what it is. It happens. So as you can see, we have plenty of levels lining up over here, as well as this -2 kind of showing us that -2.5 showing us that there would be a reversal there, as well as that 4-hour rejection block. So what they rejected from was the rejection block, leaving this 15-minute rejection block, and then price did dump, come back up to the halfway point of the rejection block, and that would have been my entry. But like I said, I had already taken my trades for the day here, so I just had to watch it go. And let's hop on the lower time frames really quickly. Like I said, here we go. At the same time, we had a rejection block on the 2-minute. They came back up to the halfway point of that rejection block. You could have taken that entry there with literally a 3-point stop, but to play it safe, you could have gone something like a 10-point, but you really didn't need more than 3 points on this day, 3.25, and then got a very nice 50 points with a short down, and then caught even more if you were patient, because as you can see, they came down to the -2 of this projection point right here. So that was the short that played out on Monday, which was very nice. Now let's move on to the next day, which is Tuesday. Here on Tuesday, I'm going to show you the higher time frames first, but on Tuesday we came back down and reacted off of this 1-hour fair value gap, also a balanced price range, as you can see with this big fair value gap over here. But that is what prompted that long. But there was also a tiny move inside of here that was a very nice long to kind of scalp and get a couple points out of it. I think 50 points was possible on that tiny scalp, but here we are on what we could have used on this day. As you can see here, the previous week high ended up being taken out at the end of the day up here with these projections basically telling you where they were going to go. You could also use these projections here that I had projected lower to show you where price was headed. But on the lower time frames right here, we have a 15-minute fair value gap, which was what I'm talking about with that tiny scalp. Right here, we got a really nice reaction off of it, coming off to the halfway point of it basically, or right before the halfway point of it, leaving a rejection block to then move up. And I'll show you exactly what that looked like on the lower time frames. But that's not the move that I think was really the best move. The best move is coming up over here. But here we are. This is the move that I was talking about. We came back down into this. This could have been a long, would have granted you, yeah, about 60 points. That's not a bad long at all. If you took that, there's no shame in taking that long. That was a very nice long. But then it led to this move lower, which basically if you were trying to go short, there was a rejection block over here, if I'm not mistaken, on the higher time frame. Yep, right here, this big rejection block with a lot of generated liquidity. Came back up, tapped the halfway point, then they dumped for about, I don't even know, like 100 points or so. Yeah, 113 points, 124 points. So that was a very nice short leading into that 1 hour fair value gap. Then we get the reversal. Now here, I honestly would have been trying to get in over here at this rejection block, but it never tapped the halfway point of it and just took off. Now on the lower time frame, same thing, never tapped the halfway point, so I didn't get filled in on this day over here. So then we end up just reversing. But if you pay attention here, I think it was on the 30-minute, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was the 30-minute here. I'm gonna take this really quickly, and if you see where this box is, you can see basically the halfway point of this rejection block gets tapped here, and then they pump. So you could have took that as a entry. They tapped it twice, actually giving 2 opportunities to enter. Here could have had a 10-point stop below this low right here. Very nice entry. Also having an order block entry right here on the 2-minute, them coming back down to this order block or rejection block. The start of it, not the halfway point. Usually the halfway point is the better entry, but sometimes it doesn't tap into it. So you just kind of have to use discretion when it comes to that. And then here, very easy 50 points and even more. If you were targeting these standard deviations over here, you could have targeted those up there as your target, or just the previous week high would have been a very nice target as well to get 145 points. Very nice trade idea, but it is what it is. Now let's move on to Wednesday. Here on Wednesday, we had news at 8:30, then leading us to a dump. This is the trade that I took right here, and I'll show it. It should pop up here, but let me explain it before I even talk about it. We ended up rejecting off of the 4-hour rejection block on the higher time frame, which was the all-time high rejection block. So we reject clearly off of that and then start to move lower. I got some levels in this area off of this fair value gap. They just rejected, leaving a 3-minute rejection block. So I took the rejection block entry and got out for about 54 points. Then they dropped all the way down into this 4-hour rejection block, not touching the halfway point of it because they were too bullish at this point. But this would have been a good target as well, because you can see here there are standard deviations that did lead to that area. But this is the 8:30. I think we had PPI on this day. This was PPI, and then we have CPI the next day. So let's talk about the trade that I took. It was a 3-minute, if I'm not mistaken. It was actually a 2-minute rejection block, as you can see here, and I entered a little late, but it's okay. It was just confirmation that they were gonna head higher. So they have this 15-minute fair value gap that lines up with these levels over here. They tapped the fair value gap, leaving a rejection block. Then halfway point gets tapped of that rejection block. The good entry or the best entry would have been to take them long right there, set a limit at the halfway point, and then that taps it in to then send it higher. But I just waited a little longer and got in right here, a 10-point stop, 11-point stop, and then got out at this high, which was a good point to get out at because I knew that we would come back up to this order block, which is a higher time frame order block. They tapped the order block, this bigger time frame rejection block as well, and then just dump lower. So I said that they are going to reverse and keep going lower, which I had an idea they were. I thought that they would chop here and then head lower. So I just got out at that high for about 54 points. But that is the long that I took. And I knew not to target something like the high, even though we did take out the low of CPI, was because I was more bearish on this day on the higher time frame. That's basically what my thought process was behind that. But let's move on to Thursday. Now here on Thursday, it was pretty annoying because I got cooked. I took only 2 trades and I lost. But it was, like I said, slowing things down and really noticing what's happening or what happened already in the pre-market that I wasn't paying attention to, or I guess I could say that I should have been paying more attention to, because it's simple. If you look on the smaller time frames over here, this is a smart money reversal here happening on Wednesday. So leaving a breaker, this over here is basically a unicorn model on the higher time frames. They drop down here at 8:30, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, at 8:30 they drop inside of this 15-minute fair value gap, also tapping into these standard deviations. Very simple. There was also an SMT on this day with ES not taking out these lows over here. Even more confirmation for us to head higher. And I started to take shorts over here, which doesn't make sense. But I did hesitate on the longs too, because I thought that we would head towards the high. I took shorts over here, expecting price to keep heading lower, but it just continued higher. Then I went back and saw what happened. I was like, okay, longs were supposed to be the move the whole time. But here on the 1 minute, we get a huge rejection block right here. This big ass rejection block. Then the halfway point gets tapped here. That would have been the best long for that day. I don't care what anybody says. If you trade the way that I trade, that would have been the best long. You would have had a pretty big stop loss. Why is it so big? It was not this big. It was not that big the day before. But on this day, basically waiting for price to kind of give you more. It was a 3-minute. It was a 3-minute, excuse me. It was a 3-minute rejection block with the entry being down here at the halfway point of that 3-minute rejection block. And then you could have had a 10-point stop here. That would have been the best long for that day. And then obviously I would have been targeting the high of CPI, which was 94 points. That would have been a perfect spot to take profits at, especially knowing that it was going to reverse up here because of these standard deviations and a higher time frame PD array that was there as well. That gave this short down to swoop the midnight open and then head higher. Also another trade set up over there, and I'll talk about that trade as well. But this was the best entry of the day, honestly, unless you had the levels all the way down here and has some type of entry inside of this area. But what can I say? It is what it is. Then I get this area. I was in shorts here and I got stopped out when they came back up. It's okay, it happens. Then I saw what happened. We have levels lining up here. There's a 15-minute fair value gap, very small, right on top of the key open. They swooped the key open. They didn't leave a rejection block, which if they did, I probably would have got out and then went long, but they did leave this fair value gap here coming back into it, and that was the entry for this on the 1 minute, if I'm not mistaken. Was, yeah, left this 1 minute fair value gap, tapped it, and then kept going higher for that 75 points. You could have took profits there at this area, which it reversed from, but then it kept going higher later on in the day. but that was the other trade entry, and that is probably the best way to really look at it and see what price was trying to do on this day. But it's all good, you know. Seeing it now, had a lot more opportunity than I thought on that day, and that goes with, like I said, slowing it down while you're actually trading and actually not jumping to any conclusions in terms of having that FOMO of getting into a trade because it's gonna leave you or something like that. Just wait for the next one to pop up and then go from there. But I also think that it kind of blinds you from seeing things. Like I said earlier on, I should have noticed this smart money reversal over here, which they did the same thing over here on Tuesday. So you can see they came back down into it, went, and they came back down into it again and went. It's very simple. Should have noticed that here on Thursday, but I think my emotions played into it and I kind of wasn't very aware of what was happening on that day. But on Friday, I ended up fixing it. I'm like, okay, let me slow things down and really wait for my entry and then just take it. Don't sit there and contemplate too much. Don't overthink it. See it, really have logic behind the trade, and then just go for it. Here on Friday, we ended up having news at 10. Right here at 9:30, we have this big down close candle that goes up and down. When it goes up and leaves equal highs at the all-time high, I was like, okay, they're just leaving equal highs, and there's always a kiss of death before they reach a higher time frame level that they want to go for. So I was like, okay, this is the kiss of death, so let me just wait. Right, so we have levels up here lined up perfectly with that. We have this fair value gap. Honestly, what I was looking at was the 12 o'clock midnight open price and this fair value gap, which was inverse as well. That was kind of the pattern this week, was just souping the 12 o'clock open, honestly, and they tapped it, souped it, and then just went. But this is the trade that I took. I will put the video up here as well. I believe I got in on a 2-minute rejection block. Yep, there it is. This is the trade that I ended up taking. It was 56 points. I closed very early, honestly. It kept going. This thing went. I closed very early, but it's okay. I got my piece of the pie and I don't really care. Here to kind of explain it, like I said, we had that inverse fair value gap over here. Kind of already had the smart money reversal. We had equal highs. Higher time frame was extremely bullish. Everybody was thinking TGIF, and I was thinking that as well when I came into the charts, but then after I was like, this looks bullish. All right, so they dropped down into this area, this reversal area. If I'm not mistaken, was there an SMT? Yeah, there was a bunch of SMTs, as you can see there. So I'm like, yeah, I'm bullish. I'm not bearish at all. They come, leave a 2-minute rejection block, tap the halfway point. I entered a little late after I waited for confirmation, but I entered. I had my stop initially below here, then I moved it to 10 points, and then I just let it run. And as you can see on this day, it really did play with my emotions, because this moved down. I was like, damn. You can see in the video too, they just came up to this, and I believe this was the halfway point of the 15-minute rejection block. They tapped it and then just dumped. I'm like, damn. But I was like, I'm already at break even. If they take me out, that's my fault for not taking profit. And they go up right away, and literally in the next few minutes I hit my TP. But that is the trade from Friday, and all I can say that I went back on all of my trades. I went back on my old accounts, I went back on my journal, and I'm like, okay, most of my problems are psychological, they're not technical. So when I went into my journal, when I started reading, I'm like, okay, this helped me in the beginning with my technical. I'm very good technically, I'm sound technically. My problems are psychologically. So I shifted my mindset or my way of journaling into a more psychological approach to combat those problems now. So I'm working on all the psychological problems instead of just technical stuff, and we'll just see next week. Also paying attention to the amount of trades that I'm taking and minimizing my losses is really important. Another thing that I will say is becoming comfortable with losses. I've also learned that taking losses has affected me a lot when it comes to just how the day-to-day goes. Like if I have a winning day, I have an amazing day outside of the charts. If I have a bad day on the charts and I just end up having, then it just ends up carrying on to the rest of my day, and you just have to become a very good loser. And the way to really identify that is through your journal, like I said. So journaling that psychological aspect of your life translates onto the charts. And I notice I'm not a very good loser when it comes to the days where I lose. I usually am on tilt outside, and it's okay to still have emotions. I don't think you could totally be emotionless in trading, but you have to control your reactions to that emotion. So try your best to become a better loser. If you do take your 2 trades and you lose, get off the charts. There's no need to be on the charts, because you then are going to do something you're going to end up regretting later on. And then you also have to combat that negative state when you do get off the charts. Don't just dwell in that negative state. Go do something. Go for a walk, go for a run, and go do something that gets you out of that state and become a good loser, because you're going to lose. The important part is actually minimizing your losses and minimizing the amount that you lose so that your winners can overcome those losses. So that's basically all that I have to say for this video. I thank you so much for watching this video. Check out Tektronix PCs on Instagram. Use my discount code LVFLIP. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Leave a comment. Let me know how your trading week went. Share with a friend who is also on their trading journey. Let me know what you thought of the video. And I think that is pretty much everything that I have to talk about today. Make sure you join the Discord, link is down in the description, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.